This is the 10.4 filled in notes. When you take half the sum of these arcs, what that means is, so I'm looking for x right here. So x opens up to 60, and the other side of x opens up to 84. So half the sum of that would be 84 plus 60 divided by 2, and then you end up with 72. So that's how you solve those, is half the sum, or you just take the average of the arcs. Okay, so we're about to do some examples like that, so I just wanted to point out this is how you do it. So it may be beneficial, like if you have your notes with you, get them out, look at them. If you don't have your notes, go to the 10.4 notes and open this up so you have them to reference. All right, and then if the angle is outside the circle, like this, see, right here, outside the circle, you would take half the difference. What does that mean? It means big arc minus little arc divided by 2. So C is here, and here's my angle C. The arcs in between those angles, they're called intercepted arcs, are what we're going to use. So my big arc is 76 over here. See, it's in between the two rays of that angle, minus my little arc, which is 30. So 76 minus 30, divide it by 2, and you get 23, and that's how you solve for those angles. All right, so that's like the gist of 10.4, is you either take half the sum or the average, or you take half the difference. Okay, so let's go back to this, and I want you guys to join this pair deck if you have not. A few of you joined just a second ago, so I want to give you a chance to see the screen. Okay, so here's what I want you guys to do. I want you, so on this Zoom, I want you to remember, or on this pair deck, sorry, I want you to remember that you need to add the arcs. So I can write on the screen. I'm going to do that. If you are confused, let me kind of talk you through it. If you're not confused, you can just go to the pair deck screen and start working, and you can draw on this slide, okay? So you're trying to find that question mark. If you need help on where to start, here's where you start. So it gives us 108. We're looking for this. So this is my arc. This is what we're looking for. But if you notice, oh, I'm struggling. 108 opens up to this arc as well. Oh gosh. There's the arc. Okay. So remember when we take the average of these arcs? It would be x, because we don't know this one. So x plus 166 divided by 2 is going to equal our angle. So notice it's no different than what we just looked at. It's just it gives us different numbers. So it already gives us what was the answer for the last one, and it's looking for something different. So we've got x plus 166 divided by 2 equals 108. So I'm going to give you guys a second to solve for this and try to figure out what the right answer is. Awesome. So we have a few of you guys who have not started writing, or your slide's not working. If something's not working, just let me know and type it into the chat on Zoom so I can see what's going on. And you can also solve it on a separate piece of paper and then just like write your answer on here. It's you know, it gets kind of hard to solve. Okay, here's a hint. The answer is going to be less than 100. So if you put a number more than 100, try something else. Uh-huh. Alexa, perfect. Zach, yep, that looks great. A lot of you guys are working, got a lot of work on here. That's awesome. Good, Roberto. Awesome. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, if you're still working, you can continue to work on your slide. On this Zoom screen, I'm going to show you how to solve for this. So you can also look here. So what I'm going to start by doing is multiplying by 2 on both sides. Why do I want to do that? Because I want to get rid of this fraction. So I no longer want the 2 in the denominator here. So I'm going to have x plus 166 is going to equal 216. So you're super close, Ethan. You just had to subtract 166 on both sides. So you've got x plus 166 equals 216. You need to subtract 166 on both sides. Minus 166. And so all you're going to have left is x equals 60. I mean 50, sorry. X equals 50 is going to be your final answer. Okay? So when you're setting up these equations, you're going to add your arcs together. You're going to divide by 2 and set it equal to 12x plus 4 because that is your angle that's inside. So I'm going to give you guys some time to do that without me chatting in your ear. Awesome, Maddie. Your steps look good so far. Good job, Alexa. Yep, Ethan, those are the correct arcs. Good. Good job, Ritzel. Yep, those are the correct arcs. Love it. Looking good, Roberto. Looks good, guys. Okay, you guys can continue solving. I'm going to set this equation up over here on the Zoom screen, but you can stay on your Pear Deck screen if you'd like. All right, so I added these arcs. 130 plus 8x plus 6. I'm going to take the average of them. I'm adding them together, and I'm going to divide by 2. So I'm going to show you a different way that you can solve for them. One way, and you'll get the same answer if you do this. You can multiply by 2 on both sides like we did last time. But this one, it happens to be one where all of the numbers are even. So when I add these together, I get 136 plus 8x divided by 2. And I can actually divide all of those things by 2. Just make sure you divide all of them. Don't just divide, one piece of it. So 136 divided by 2. I think it's going to be 68, but let me make sure. Yeah, so it's going to be 68. And then 8x divided by 2 is 4x. So I'm going to have 68 plus 4x is equal to 12x plus 4. So you guys who solved by multiplying on both sides, you should come out with the same answer. Okay. So 12x plus 4. There you go. And then I'm going to subtract 4 on both sides. I'll get 64. I'll add 4x on both sides. Equals 16x. And so x did I solve correctly? I believe should be 4. Oh, guys, I didn't solve. I need to subtract 4 on both sides. Okay, I was like, oh, I think the answer should be 8. It is 8. Let me correct this real quick. So I'm subtracting 4x on both sides. So 12 minus 4 is 8. There we go, that's better. So we've got 8x. Awesome. Yeah, that looks really, really good, guys. A lot of you got 8 for your answer. If you didn't get 8, you could probably figure out where you messed up on your equation. But awesome. Okay. Clear these. We're going to go on to the next one. Okay, this was a little different. So remember, guys, that we talked about half the difference. So this is one where it's half the difference. So it's big arc minus little arc divided by 2 is going to equal this angle on the outside. Okay, so if you forgot how to set these up, it's always going to equal the angle on the outside, which sometimes that'll be x, sometimes that'll be a number. And it's going to be big arc minus little arc divided by 2. So my big arc is x. We don't know what it is. My little arc is 66. Then we're going to divide by 2. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys some time to solve that, and then we'll go over it. All right, I'm going to multiply by 2 on both sides. So that's going to get rid of that fraction. So we will end up with x minus 66 equals 110. You know how last time we divided on both sides? If you divide, you're going to end up with 1/2 x minus 33 equals 55, which is fine, but you'll still have a fraction. So I'm going to add 66 on both sides. So x is going to end up equaling 176, and that's how you solve. Oh gosh, 176. That's how you solve for those problems. So we've got one more from 10.4, and then we'll move on to 10.5. So this one is from 10.4. Let's talk about this real quick. So this one's weird, right? So this one's probably the most difficult type of problem from 10.4. It does not give you this angle in here, but what I want you to notice is that T and R are points on the outside of the circle. They're a little bit different than the ones before. So if I go to the slide before, I can show you, well, I don't want to move it because some of you guys are already on it. I don't want to mess your screen up. But, you know, they don't always touch the outside of the circle. Sometimes these lines go through the circle. But since these touch the outside, we've got 253 over here. To solve for this, our little arc, because remember, it's big arc minus little arc divided by 2 is going to equal this angle. So it's going to equal our outside angle. So I can go ahead and put 74x minus 1 out here. To solve for this, you just subtract 360 minus 253. Because the whole circle is 360. So you can't always do that. Only when the points, both points touch the outside of the circle. So 360 minus 253 is 107. Ooh, 107. Awesome. That's perfect, Alonzo. And so now we can set our equation up. So I'm going to bring my eraser over here. And I've got big arc, 253, minus little arc, which is 107, which we found that ourselves by subtracting 360 minus 253, divided by 2. So remember, that's a minus sign because this is outside the circle. So what's nice about this is you don't have to multiply by 2 on both sides because there's no variables on the left-hand side of the equation. So in your calculator, you can just do 253 minus 107. You get 146. And then divide that by 2, and you end up with 73. So we would get 73 equals 74, that's supposed to be 7, x minus 1. If I add 1 on both sides, I'd get 74 equals 74x. And so x is going to be 1. So hopefully you guys are seeing how all of that comes together. And we are about to move to 10.5. Pause this real quick. Yeah, awesome. Good job. Lots of work on these. Good job, guys. Okay. All right, I'm over here in the modules 10.5. So remember, I did not have Zoom. We didn't talk about this. Hopefully you watched this video. Hopefully you did the notes. There's some important things that I want to talk about just real quick. So these are the filled in notes. That's what I'm opening up. These are the important things right here that you need to know. So you've got H, K, and R. This is the equation of the circle. This is just given to you. So it's like, you know, in Algebra 1, you learned about like y equals mx plus b, and you learned about point slope form and standard form and all those different forms of equations. This is the same idea. It's just, it's the equation of a circle, all right? So my x and my y does not change. My h, my k, and my r are the numbers that I plug in to make my equation. So hk is your center point. So like, if your center is at -1, 3, you would plug those numbers into this equation. If your circle had a radius of 9, you would plug 9 into this equation, okay? The weird thing is, notice this is x minus h and y minus k. So I think I said -1 and 3. If I had -1 and I plugged it in there, it would become a +1. If I had a +3 and I plugged it in, it would become a -3. So basically you're always changing the sign of your center, and we'll talk about this more. I'm just kind of going over this. And then for this, if my radius is 9, I would have to square it, so the number would be 9 times 9, which is 81. So that's what our equation would look like. All right, so this is a good resource for you to look through and see how to solve for these, okay? So let's go back to the pear deck. And so remember, these are the same problems as the problems from 10.4, the 4 that we just did. Those are 4 of the problems on 10.4. And then these are 4 of the problems on 10.5. All right, this is kind of what I just talked about. So this is here on this pear deck for you. Okay, so this is just problem number 1 on 10.5. What I want you to do is I want you to circle the correct equation. So remember that circle formula, x minus h and y minus k equals the radius squared. So I'm going to go ahead and on this screen, I'm going to place the center. The center is right here. The center is at -1, 1. And you guys can write that in there. You can put that dot on your screen. So I need to plug -1 and +1 in here, but remember that I changed the sign of it. -1 and +1. And then let's see what our radius is. It goes out 1 unit, 2 units. So let's see if I can put some helpful hints on here. My center, so my HK is -1, 1. My radius is 2 units long. So I need to square my radius and put it after the equal sign. And then I need to plug my center in. Awesome. I see quite a few correct answers. Some of you guys have not answered yet, but you're getting there. Okay, let's see if we're on the same page here. So the radius is 2. We've got to square that to plug it into the formula. Okay, so we can automatically say that it's not D or E. And then we know we're plugging in -1, 1. So there's no 2 anywhere. So we can automatically rule out A. So it's between B and C. All right, remember when you plug in a negative, it's going to change sign so it will become positive. So this is good. When you plug in a 1, it's going to become negative. It changes sign, so it has to be C. Okay, so if you thought it was B, make sure that you're changing the sign of both of those. It's got to be positive and then negative. Okay? I mean, that's the gist of 10.5. That is how you do it. The questions, they do get a little more difficult. But that's kind of the idea. All right, let's move on to the next one. So remember, like, jot these down or have your 10.5 assignment open if you have not already completed it and don't like your grade. You should have 3 attempts on it. These are the same problems. All right, use the information provided to write the equation of each circle. So this is actually multiple choice in your assignment, but I'm going to have you guys just write it down on here so I can make sure we know what's going on. Let's see, what would be helpful? Maybe if I did this. Here, I'll throw up the equation of a circle on the Zoom screen if you're like, oh gosh, I don't know what it is. There's the equation of the circle. So I'm going to let you guys look at that and have some time to process. Yeah. All right. So my formula, x minus h. Here's my h. Here's my k. It's helpful to label those and to see it. And then here's my r. H, k, and r. So those are the 3 things I'm plugging in. My h, my k, and my r. I'm going to write these. We've got x minus a -16. So that's going to end up being plus. Remember, you always have to change the sign of your h and k. So x plus 16 squared plus. All right, remember this is a y, so this one becomes y minus k. So y minus a positive 4. So yep, it's going to be minus squared equals 3 squared, which is 9. 3 times 3 is 9. All right, and that's, these are multiple choice on your assignment. So you would just select the multiple choice answer that looks like that. Okay? Awesome. Hopefully these are fairly easy questions on the test for you. Okay, so this one, and this is why it's important to draw on this, because I'm going to have you sketch the graph as well. So I want you to identify the center and the radius, and I want you to write that on your screen. And then I want you to just sketch it over here. And I'm going to pause and give you some time to work on that. If you're confused about the center, make sure, so remember this, the first number, change the sign, it's going to become a -1 because it's positive 1 up here. And then there's nothing next to the y, right? Anytime there's nothing there, it's just going to be a 0. Okay? So there's a hint for you if you're a little confused, but I'll let you keep going. Okay, so my radius, if this is 16, we want to take the square root of 16. So that's going to be 4. Right? So 4 is going to be our radius. So my center is at -1, 0. -1, 0. And it's 4 units long for the radius. So it goes up 4, over 4, which actually puts it at -5, down 4, and to the right 4, which puts it at 3. And then you can kind of try your best to connect those dots. On the assignment, all you're doing is selecting the multiple choice. So you don't actually have to draw it. Oh, it's getting better. Oh. Okay, it's better-ish. But yeah. All right, moving on to the last one. Okay, this one is tough. I will admit it. This is the advanced problem. I'm going to go to the notes for this and pull them over here on the screen. If you know how to solve for this and you feel good about it, go for it. If you're totally lost, let's talk about it. So there's a couple different ways you can do it, and I showed you both ways on the notes. One way, you can use Pythagorean theorem and figure out how far away this is. So like we have a point at 0, 0, and 4, -3, and we figured out, oh, you go down 3 and over 4. You can use Pythagorean theorem to solve for the distance, and that's going to give you the radius. Or you can use distance formula, which I included that on the slide in Pear Deck. You can use distance formula to solve, and basically what you're solving for is the radius, okay? So you've got to find the distance between these two. That's going to give you the radius, and then you square that to solve, okay? So I'll give you guys a second to work on that. Remember, your center is this. So, you know, when working these problems, you can automatically look and say, okay, it's going to be a +2 and a -1. So we know for sure it can't be this one or this one. So we can automatically cross out B and D. So we really just have A, C, and E that we're looking at. Oh yeah, let me look. Let's look and see.
You can cross out C too.
Oh, yes you can, because that's an, oh, I didn't see that. That is a +1, isn't it? Thanks. Yes. So there's a hint on those. Yeah, these are advanced questions, but it's really not that bad because you have yep, awesome, Alonzo. Okay, let me look through and see who has the right answer. Yep, Zach, that's good. Ethan, perfect. Roberto, yes, looks good. Yes, Alonzo, good job. Eva. And a lot of you guys are like almost there. Okay, so here's one hint here. You can use distance formula, but I want you guys to notice that this 1 and this 1 are the same, so that you don't really need distance formula. You just kind of need to figure out how far apart is -2 and -19, which it's 17 apart, all right, 17 units apart. So 17 squared is going to equal 289, not this gigantic number. I think this number is actually 289 squared, which, you know, can confuse people sometimes. But yeah, so E is going to be that answer. All right, so hopefully this was helpful. Remember, these are the same questions as the ones from your assignment. We are now going to go and look at the review. So we're going to change gears just a little bit. So we only have about 5 minutes. I'm going to go through we're going to talk about a little bit of the 10.1 and 10.2 questions because we just did 10.4 and 10.5 like a lot. So I'll talk about some of the 10.1, 10.2 questions. If you have any specific questions or ones you want me to look at with you, just type that into the chat and we can go over it. And I can even stay after 8:45 with you guys. Okay, remember this first one. So I want you all to go, if you have not already, go to this. This is your Unit 10 review. So first question, super easy. Oh, another thing about this test is that the review is 30 questions long. The test is only 20. Okay, so that's kind of nice. It's not like a super long test. But they match very well. It's just like some of the duplicate questions from the review are not on the test. So it says name the minor arc. Remember, major, minor, you don't even have to look at the picture. Major is 3, minor is 2. Okay? So if you get, hopefully you guys remember that. I'm going to zoom forward a little bit. Number 3, and I'm going to have you guys type in the chat. So this is number 3. I'll get you guys a chance. Do you guys remember central angles? Do you remember what this angle would be? If this is 122 out here, what would this angle be? This question mark. I just want you to type what you think it is in the chat. Give me a number in the chat. If you're wrong, that's okay. I'm not going to call you out. I just want to see that you're thinking. What would this question mark be? And it's a lot easier than you guys may think. It almost seems like a trick question. It's so easy. Perfect, Zach. Perfect, Maddie. Just give me some answer. Awesome. I got lots of answers. There's a couple of you guys I'm still waiting on to give me any answer, anything. Whatever you think it may be. Oh, that's okay. You're good. Okay, sweet. All right, I have multiple answers. So I want you guys to remember, and it's confusing because 10.1 was central angles, and then 10.2 we did something completely different. But remember, if the angle's in the center, it's going to be the exact same as the arc that it opens up to. Okay, so this is going to be 122. So if you guys cut it in half and you put, what would that be in half? 61. That's okay. That's kind of why I wanted you guys to think about this and to remember that central angles are the same as the arc it opens up to. Inscribed angles, which we're about to go over in just a second, those are the ones that you have to cut in half. Okay, so this one's going to be 122. And like same idea here. This is 80. This is 80. All right. So these should be easy for you. Okay, questions like this. You're looking for arc IH. So this is a diameter. JH cuts the circle in half. So we would have to realize this is 180 degrees, right? 180 minus 110. Yep, perfect, Ethan. And then what's left over here is 70 degrees. So hopefully you guys remember that. It's been a little bit since we did 10.1. But that one's just going to be 70. So remember, a semicircle, so like half a circle, is going to be 180. If it's the entire circle, remember you have to subtract from 360. Okay, I'm going to move over to 10.2 questions real quick so that I can let you guys go. So there's more questions on the review than on the test, just so that you remember. There were a lot of those 10.1 questions. There's not as many of those on the test. Okay, so find the measure of the arc or the angle indicated. This is what I was talking about last time. Okay, so I have, or on that question where it was 122. So here's my angle. How do I know what arc it opens up to? Because R, if you follow the lines, it goes to T and to S. That's perfect. Good job, guys. Alonzo and Ethan already had the right answer in there. Love it. So you're going to take your arc. Good job, Alexa. You're going to cut it in half. So here's my arc. I'm gonna cut it in half, and I'm gonna get 50. And that's all you have to do for this. Okay? I'm gonna do this one. There's another easy one. Okay, I'm gonna do this last one with you guys, and then I'm gonna let you guys go, or you can stay and ask questions if you have any. Okay, so this one, it's a little more difficult. You're trying to solve for this one. You don't have this arc, you have this arc, but you do have this angle. So you realize you can take 45, and you can multiply it by 2, and you can get this arc right here. And then you have all the rest of the arcs besides this one. So you can take 360. Oh, that's a interesting looking 3. And you can subtract these two. So I can take 124 and 190, and I can add them together. And I can get 214. So if I subtract 360 minus 214, I'm going to get the answer. Which, I believe it's 146, right? That's right, Ethan? Yeah. So 360 minus 214. And it's going to be 146. Okay, well, it's a little bit past time. You guys can stick around and ask me some questions, or you're free to go. Remember, make sure all of your Unit 10 assignments are done. They close, so they're due, 10-4 and 10-5, I believe, are due tonight and tomorrow night. And then they all close on Friday. You cannot do them past Friday, and you will get zeros for them. So make sure you do them. If you have any questions, please stick around. If not, good luck on your review.